one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to winter, after relinquishing that ownership, so not taking responsibility for their own actions and relinquishing it to the season, is that it's very all or nothing. So they go to one of these events, or there's a food opportunity or a drink opportunity, and it's very much like do or die. So drink as much as possible, eat as much bad food as possible, rather than just going, okay, cool, I can just have a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And even if they do go full whole hog and go crazy, it's then that mindset the next day of, oh, what's the point? I've failed now. I give up. Oh, I've done this, so I may as well do this tomorrow. I may as well, this week's ruined. So it's that mindset of absoluteness and failure that then holds us back. The winter season is typically that time of year where people really, really struggle. And I want to basically walk you through some of the systems that I used to stay on track over winter, because yeah, it is tougher, right? The days are shorter, the weather's worse, it's colder, we generally feel like less motivated, maybe less energetic, and there's a lot more time spent indoors, so we're obviously more likely to maybe overindulge or be more sedentary. And of course, not to mention Christmas parties, maybe the food around us, the events that we're going to that might throw us off track. But on the other hand, I do offer a perspective shift, and that is that winter is actually the best time to get in shape for actually all, or if not most of those reasons, because summer itself doesn't really dictate anything. All it is a season, and whether it's summer, winter, autumn, spring, you make your own choices. And the fact that in winter, we typically are indoors a little bit more, maybe our routines are a bit more solid, there's less spontaneity with what we're doing, then that actually gives you a really good opportunity to get into an awesome routine, build some really, really strong habits, and then as a result, get those results that you're looking for and continue to make progress with what you're doing or what you're working towards. And that's something I've truly believed in winter. And I think the problem that people make is seeing seasons as different times. So this being maybe the off season to do nothing or maybe do less. Less is fine as long as you're keeping the habit alive and you're holding the line. But the danger is that that comfort then becomes nothing at all. And suddenly we step away from doing anything at all and we completely lose track. And that is why so many people stay on track during summer and then they quit over winter, and then it's all about starting again in January. And imagine how good it would feel to not have to start again in January. So what I want to do today is walk you through a system that we're calling the Winter Playbook. And this is really about keeping your habits alive, having great systems throughout winter, maybe some perspective shifts, and the goal is really to get you to January without actually feeling like you've fallen off track at all, if not further beyond. So the most common situations that we see hold people back during winter, the first one is just generally the seasons. So the weather being colder, maybe raining, snowing, not wanting to go outside. But the irony of that is that most people do actually train inside to begin with. So I think it's really about a perspective shift to go, just because the weather is bad, it literally makes no difference to the actions that I need to take to move forward. So whatever training system you have in place right now, in summer or whenever, it can survive throughout winter and it can remain exactly the same. There's no such thing as training for a different season or adapting for a different season in the sense of different conditions, different results. Maybe the only exception to that is if your main training discipline is to go running or cycling outside, then obviously you need to find an alternative to keep that system up that's not an outdoor environment unless you want to brave the weather. But if you typically train in a gym, or maybe you're like most of our clients and myself, you train with your body weight, the weather itself should make absolutely no difference at all to your training system. One thing that can get changed by winter is like your daily activity. So maybe we call that steps. Obviously, if you're not walking outside as much, maybe you're driving more, you're parking closer to the door of work or to the supermarket, and you're typically just not going for those outside walks. Daily steps is something that's going to be inhibited for sure. And the way that we solve this is really just about being more conscious of your movement when you are indoors. So being active around the house, doing chores, getting involved with those sort of things, taking regular breaks from work, and also realizing that there's no such thing as bad weather, there's just bad clothing. So gearing up and getting the right gear on and going outside and enjoying this weather for what it is, as well as summer, right? All it is weather. And to take the stoic point of view, it's your interpretation of that weather that makes it seem good or bad. I'm sure there's people out there that hate summer and love the winter, right? So really trying to embrace that and recognize that at the end of the day, if you let that weather stop you from taking the action, you're going to be the one that pays the price. Absolutely straight up. So take ownership, stick with the system you've already got, and if it needs adjusting, then be flexible, be adaptable, but most importantly, just keep doing it. The second situation that comes up often is obviously the food and the drink. I'm going to keep this separately from events because I think it's slightly different. So with the food and the drink, there's no reason why you have to indulge in that. Obviously, if you want to, that's absolutely fine. But that drink and food being available doesn't relinquish you of that responsibility to still make a choice in those scenarios. What I usually find when people say, oh, but in December, I'm drinking loads, I'm eating loads, yeah, but that's your choice, right? You've decided to do that and you should take responsibility of that. And yeah, of course, like food is there to be enjoyed, drink is there to be enjoyed if you wish, but it doesn't mean you should relinquish responsibility and use that as an excuse to why you can't stay in shape in December. And if you continue to use that as an excuse, you will continue to fall off track and have to start again in January. And I know probably 99% of you don't want to do that again this year. Now, assuming that ownership is covered, now we have the actual act itself of making choices and actually being able to indulge in those moments around food. And the beauty of it is that you can still enjoy those moments irregardless of the food choices that you make. The food and the drink is not the thing itself, right? Like most of those things are about family, they're about friends, they're about enjoyment. And I think it's really important that we try to separate the pleasure from the food and the drink versus like what is the primary purpose of these moments. And once you've done that, you're in a very strong mindset to then make informed decisions about what you actually eat and what you actually drink. Now, within those parameters, then you obviously can make poorer or better choices within any situation. And it's often just about recognizing like what is serving me and what isn't. Like, will I feel good about this or bad about this? And when does it even actually matter? And we use a principle called the volume frequency equation in Vibrant People. And basically that equation is really simple. So when we indulge in less optimal food or drink behaviors, we have to look at two main factors. So there's volume and there's frequency, and that's over time. So volume is the amount that you consume in that moment, in that instance. Frequency is the number of instances that occur, and then time is obviously over the duration of time. And for most clients, we use this in the sense of like networking and going out for like business dinners, socializing as well. And what it means is that if you say go out for one meal every 2 months and you eat whatever you want and you drink whatever you want, that's not going to have a massive effect on your long-term results. On the flip side, if you do that every week or twice a week, it's going to have a significant impact on your results and your overall health because it's taking up a larger proportion of what life actually looks like. And then on the other side, we could have someone that goes out often. So maybe they network 3 times a week, but they don't really indulge. So the volume is very low. Maybe they have like a bite of dessert or a couple of chips. But because the volume is very low, the frequency is still high over time, it's not going to have a massive impact on their results. So you can see with these Christmas occasions or these winter occasions, if you can control one of those 2 variables or both to a degree, you can vastly reduce the impact that it actually has on your long-term results. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to winter, after relinquishing that ownership, so not taking responsibility for their own actions and relinquishing it to the season, is that it's very all or nothing. So they go to one of these events, or there's a food opportunity or a drink opportunity, and it's very much like do or die. So drink as much as possible, eat as much bad food as possible, rather than just going, okay, cool, I can just have a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And even if they do go full whole hog and go crazy, it's then that mindset the next day of, oh, what's the point? I've failed now. I give up. Oh, I've done this, so I may as well do this tomorrow. I may as well, this week's ruined. So it's that mindset of absoluteness and failure that then holds us back. Because imagine if let's say we had 4 Christmas parties and Christmas Day. Imagine at those Christmas parties, we went to all 4, we enjoyed them, we had a couple of drinks, a little bit of food, but mainly we tried to keep it as good as possible. Maybe we made the best choice in the situation. Maybe we ate before we went out and just had a sample of some of the available foods. And then the next day we just got on with it. We did our training, we ate well, and we repeated that up until Christmas. And then on Christmas Day, we go full blast. We eat whatever we want, we drink whatever we want, and then we wake up the next day feeling awful, but we just move on from it and we get back on track and we eat well again and we start our training again. Imagine if you did that, you could A, enjoy all of those events, B, go absolutely AWOL on Christmas Day, and C, still be fit and healthy and lose 0 momentum when it comes to January. Imagine how good that would feel. And it's almost one of those impossible situations of actually having your cake and eating it. But there's a few scenarios that most people fall into. A is that December happens and straight away we just relinquish responsibility. There's not even an effort. It's just, okay, cool, I'm not going to train, I'm not going to eat well, it's December, and I am now a slave to the events, to the food and the drink that comes my way. That's the worst possible option. The second option is that the first time you have good intentions, and then an event comes along and you maybe indulge a little too much in the food or drink, and you wake up the next day and you either give up or you tell yourself that you've failed, or you just let it flow into the next day or the next week. You tell yourself, what does it matter? Like, I had a bad day yesterday, so let's just keep having a bad day. And we just keep feeding that and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then before you know it, you've fallen off track completely and you have to start again in January. And then obviously we have option C, which is the one I described, where we kind of do a bit of both. Like, we keep the flame alive, we adapt, we're flexible, we still enjoy those moments, we still enjoy good food, and you come back into January feeling amazing. And the beauty of that is that I'm not telling you to stay on this perfect plan and eat this perfect food throughout the whole season and totally avoid every single indulgence of the winter period at all. I'm telling you that you can actually do both and come out better on the other side. So I really want you to think about that, and I really want you to consider how that would feel getting to January with all of, that was a wave that just went on the car, just to let you know, a wave. So I really want you to consider that option. Now, very practically, I'm going to give you 2 strategies that you can use for your training. One strategy for your training and one strategy for your nutrition. So with your training, I want you to use the system that we call tiers of opportunity that you might be familiar with. So this system is really, really straightforward. And it basically means that we have our plan A and we create layers of plans or safety nets under that plan A so that we can never fail. So plan A might be the plan that you've been doing so far. It might be the 45-minute workout in a gym, no distractions, perfect conditions, fantastic, cool. If you can do that, that's great. But if you can't, we don't want to fall into that trap of going, okay, I'm going to do nothing at all because I can't get to the gym, I don't have 45 minutes, I don't have access to that specific equipment, and I've failed. So what's the point at all? That is the mistake most people make, and we don't want to fall into that. So we're going to create plan B, C, and plan D. So plan B might be, I'm going to do 30 minutes, it's going to be body weight, and I'm going to do it from home. And I forgot to add before, we want to have times on this as well. So let's say that option A is at 8 a.m. before work. Option B might be at lunchtime, the 30 minutes. I'll do it at home, body weight, 30 minutes, 12 p.m. Cool. What if that doesn't happen? Okay, plan C is 3 in the afternoon. I can get away from work early and finish the rest at home. I'm just going to do 20 minutes and I'm going to do it at home. I'm just going to do a quick circuit and get it knocked off at 3 p.m. Cool. Plan D. Plan D is 7 p.m. Kids have gone to bed. I'm just going to jump on the rowing machine or a skipping rope or go for a run. I'm just going to do 20 minutes and that gets done when the kids have gone to bed. Don't really like working out in the evening, but that's my fallback plan. So these are all just examples, right? You can play with location. You can play with approach, body weight, gym, cardio, mobility. You can play with the time of day. You can play with the length and the duration. So you can create basically this framework of backup plans that's going to allow you to take action whatever happens. And I really would like you to, with December coming and these things, these events and challenges coming up, I would love for you to actually grab a pen and paper and write down this tiers of opportunity for yourself so you have these backup plans in place. And then how that looks in practice is that during that festive season, when the days do maybe feel a bit more fuller, they're unpredictable, there's events going on, you can use these fallback plans to still tick the box off and feel good about yourself, but not actually fall off track completely and say, I couldn't do plan A, so what's the point of doing anything at all? And this system is what we use with our clients. It's what I use personally to make sure that we always move forward. And look, week of Christmas, that might look like 10 minutes of push-ups, squats, and leg raises a day during that week. And that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine because you're keeping the habit alive rather than just doing the all or nothing of falling off track completely. And that's what we want. If December is tough for you, worst case scenario, we just want to survive. We want to hold the line. Best case scenario, you keep taking great action and you keep making positive results and you keep making progress, okay? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be black or white. It doesn't have to be this perfect situation or nothing at all. We can hold the line with the minimal viable action. So the next thing is on food, which is obviously a massive, massive challenge during the Christmas period. And I think I covered it a bit before about the scenarios of the 4 events in December followed by Christmas Day going all out, and the fact that if you do keep your strong habits during the interim or in between moments, you can still actually do all of those things and come out the other end feeling amazing and still performing and still holding those habits. But let's talk like more micro level versus macro level. And what do you actually do in one of those events? A is what we talked about before, extreme ownership. In any circumstance, you have 100% control over your own actions. So don't relinquish control to the season, to the restaurant you're in, to what's around you, to peer pressure. You still make the choice. So that is first and foremost the most important thing. Secondly, how much can you influence the decisions that you're making? So do you have a say over location? Do you have a say over the activity that you do? If you do, take some control there and do something that feels aligned with how you want to spend your time and how you want to behave and what you want your habits to be. If you don't have control over that, remember that in any circumstance, there is a spectrum of choice. So the top end of the spectrum is the most optimal choice within those parameters. Now, this might not be the most optimal when you are fully in control, but we've got to look at it within the parameters that we have, and that might be what is on a restaurant menu. So we have optimal and we have less optimal. Now, just because it isn't perfect doesn't mean that you automatically have to default to the less optimal choice. You can still make a better or a worse choice within any situation. However bad the options are, there are still better and worse choices. So the more that you can align yourself towards the more optimal choices, they will move you less further away, or maybe even maintain where you're at, more than if you just sacrifice and go for the worst possible choice like every single time. So I really implore you to really think about A, taking ownership, B, how much can I control the activity? Like, can I have a say in that and align it with what I want to do and what I want to achieve and the other goals that I have for myself? C is obviously making the best choice within the parameters you have. You don't automatically just have to make the worst choice just because you're in that situation. And then also there's things like peer pressure. Why, if someone else is pressuring you to make bad choices that you don't feel are aligned, why are you giving into that? Like, you're an adult, you should be confident, you should be steadfast in what's important to you and your values. And if you really want to achieve these things and get these results, then be strong in what you believe in and what you want to get out of this moment. And at the end of the day, if someone is peer pressuring you to, oh, come on, mate, just have a shot, or come on, mate, like, why are you getting the steak and salad versus the pizza, or whatever bullshit it is, that's more of a reflection of their lack of confidence than it is your situation and what you're actually doing. So really try to stay steadfast in those situations. Now, the other part of the social situation and the social fabric is that you can actually indulge a little bit too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, so long as it doesn't completely throw you off track and you end up quitting, or you end up giving up, or you end up self-sabotaging for the rest of the week. And going back to the volume frequency equation, like increasing that volume, increasing that frequency, increasing that duration. Because you can easily go out for a meal every single week and eat what you want and stay in amazing shape, so long as those habits hold throughout the rest of the week. And I think understanding that is really, really important to actually being able to get through the winter period on top and on the other end. So I hope that helps you guys. That's our winter playbook. And if you follow the systems that I've worked through with you today, I guarantee that you will come out of December, if not in better shape, if not maintaining, probably in better shape than you have been previously, because you've actually held the line. And the beauty of this is that this is probably one of the hardest seasons to get through for people. So if you can hold these habits, and I think most importantly, like, shift your perspective on what it actually means to hold the line during this period, you'll easily be able to get through a busy work week. You'll easily be able to get through a stressful period or a demanding week, because it's going to feel like a breeze compared to a month of doing this. If you have any questions, just drop me a message or drop a comment on the video or the podcast. I would absolutely love to hear from you and answer any challenges that you have personally over these periods. Peace out, guys.